What's good, everybody? It's your boy Matthew Maley for MatthewMaley.com. Well, you can tell we got the Lucky Ray Lewis jersey on, and it is time for another NFL and fantasy football recap. This time for Week 11. Can't believe the season is getting close to being done. Well, not close, but closer than I'd like. It feels like it just started. So it's a crazy week. Absolutely crazy week. From pros to fantasy, even college was crazy with teams 1 and 2 getting knocked out. Poor Oregon. God, I wanted them to beat Stanford so badly. And now, much to my hatred and pretty much everybody else's who isn't a Notre Dame fan, Notre Dame is officially number 1 in the nation. Ugh. Let's skip past college. Let's get right to the pros. So, ended up not being as good of a week as I would have liked. Wasn't quite as good as last week with the lucky jersey. But the Ravens did win, so as far as I'm concerned, that's reason enough to keep rocking the Ray Lewis. So we're going to stick with it. I think it helped, personally. Crazy week, like I said. Ended up going 2 and 2. My pro teams went 1 and 1. We'll start off with the loss, which had multiple opportunities to actually be a win. And even though it shouldn't have been, even though it was horribly ugly, very well could have been, all thanks to our defense. But the Cardinals ended up losing to Atlanta 23-19 in Atlanta. But literally the entire game, the Cardinals were ahead. They came out first quarter, scored 13-0. Second quarter were up 16-13. Then they ended up going into halftime tied up at 16 all. Third quarter, nobody scored, and then we scored a field goal to get us to 19-16. And then with 6 minutes left, Michael Turner ran in a touchdown, which thankfully did help my fantasy team. Actually, didn't get me a win, and I would have happily traded that for the Cardinals getting the win. But ended up, really the story of the game was 5 interceptions by Matt Ryan. 3 of them in the first quarter alone. It wasn't like they were horrible passes. A couple of them were tipped balls that the receivers definitely didn't do Matty Ice any favors with. But regardless, 5 interceptions, ridiculous. We'll get to his fantasy night later on, but that's just kind of starting it off there. Really, the only good moment was Leroy Stephen Howling, we call him Hyphen, had a really solid game. One of his best, definitely his best game of the year, but one of his better games ever. I think he ended up with like 178 yards or something. It was pretty crazy. But when you really look at the overall numbers, this tells you how horrible it was. Skelton was actually benched, and we brought in Lindy. He started off 2 for 7 for 6 yards. So we pulled him out. But this pretty much tells you everything you need to know. 2 for 16 on third down efficiency, 178 total yards, and only 41 pass yards. You're not going to win a game like that. The fact that we were even in the... Oh, yeah, and Larry Fitzgerald had 1 catch for 11 yards. He was targeted 7 times, had 1 catch for 11 yards. And dropped. It wasn't just like a blatant drop. He did take a pretty good hit, but the fourth down catch in the fourth quarter that could have kept the drive going and given us the last shot. So a pretty bad day for him. Maybe he's mad that I'm not wearing his jersey. I don't know. So that's definitely my loss. But that brings us to the victory, which happened on Sunday night. Again, my man Ray Lewis providing moral support on the sideline, and ended up being a very typical Ravens-Steelers type of game. Smash mouth, drag it out, beat 'em up type of game. Obviously, Big Ben isn't playing. For those of you who don't know, he got injured last week, out 2 to 3 weeks. So I know a lot of people say, oh, we want to beat the best team. Nope, I'm fine with the win no matter how it comes. Not complaining, happy with it. So I would rather get the win than possibly lose playing the team at full force. So playing in Pittsburgh, which is a very difficult place to play, and even though I was very confident about the Ravens, I really thought it was going to be a bigger score than it was. I thought it was going to be a much easier game, but this one came down to the last second, like they always seem to with this rivalry. Ended up 13-10. The Ravens won. Really, the only moment for the Ravens the entire game was Jacoby Jones took a punt return back to the house, got a touchdown, and that was really the moment. That was it. Other than that, it was pretty lacking, to be quite honest. Really lacking. So overall, I'll take what I can get. I'm happy about it. I'm so glad we got Jacoby Jones. Don't know why the Texans. I don't know how much we had to pay for him because I believe it was a free agent move. It wasn't like he got cut or something. I'm not sure how much the Ravens had to pay for him, but I'm happy whatever it was. Would really like it if he was able to do a little bit more on the receiving end, but between Torrey Smith and Quan Bolden and Dennis Pitta, who's been getting a lot of catches, as well as Ray Rice coming out of the backfield, there isn't a whole lot of balls to go around for that. So as long as he can keep running back kickoffs and punts, I'm good. So I'm really pretty solid win considering the fact that we had less yards, way less time of possession. But the biggest thing, there were 3 turnovers in the game, and the Baltimore Ravens got all 3 of them. 1 interception and 2 fumbles. One was a great hit by Graham, if I'm not mistaken, and was picked up by Ed Reed, who ended up running it back. But that leads us to the big news. Ed Reed has officially been suspended for 1 game, which includes his game check of $435,000, for repeated blatant disregard of the NFL safety rules for multiple helmet-to-helmet hits. Now, this video is being filmed at technically Tuesday morning. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. And ever since this was announced, which it was announced before Monday Night Football, it has been one complaint after the next from every ESPN talking head there is, saying this is utter BS. From quarterbacks to defensive players to offensive players to safeties to receivers who get hit to even to Mike Greenberg, who's never played a day of anything in his life, you can tell. Even he is agreeing with what BS this is. And essentially the NFL's ruling was because over the past 3 years, dating back to 2010, Ed Reed has had 3 penalties of blows to the head. Now, to go back in time and remind you, the first one occurred against Drew Brees in 2010 when he was going for the ball, and as he was going for the ball, he reached his arm out and hit Drew Brees in the head. It's a penalty that is what it is, whatever. But it wasn't, first off, it was not a malicious hit. It was not maliciously going for the head. As everybody's been saying, he's not a headhunter. He's a ball hawk. That's the type of safety he is. He's not a headhunter. LaRon Landry. Landry Jones, he's a horrible quarterback. LaRon Landry, he's a beast. He's a headhunter. Not trying to disrespect or anything like that. He's a headhunter. Brian Dawkins, he was a headhunter. There are Taylor Mays just got drafted. He's the epitome of a headhunter. He's already gotten like 4 penalties this year or something. But those are headhunters. Ed Reed is not. Ed Reed is one of the good guys. And at first I thought it was just me. Before I'd seen it, when it just came up along the bottom, and I hadn't heard anybody else's opinions, I really thought it was just my Ravens bias, my Ed Reed bias, because I really like him. I thought it was just because of me. But it really does make me feel very vindicated when every single person is concurring with my statement that this is utter BS. So the second, I was sorry to go back to the penalties. The second penalty was against, I don't remember who it was, but it was a brutal hit. I mean, Ed and I want to say it was McClain, just absolutely sandwiched this guy in between. and it was true. I admit it might have been against the Patriots. Now that I think about it, I don't remember. I saw it one time, and it was the Jaguars. I don't know. I apologize. I don't know, but it was from last season, from 2011, and it was a brutal hit. But this one it was against Emmanuel Sanders. First off, what is complete garbage is he didn't launch. He never left his feet. He actually even put his arms up to brace. And what I think so unfair about it is where he was aiming was directly into Sanders' chest. Well, as Sanders caught the ball and realized Ed Reed was coming in, Sanders lowers his level a good 6 inches. All of a sudden, what previously would have been straight into the chest now is straight into the helmet. Which I understand. That's why I would never want to play safety or cornerback. There's so many elements to it that are just so unfair. I would never want to do it. But seeing that, I really think that the NFL needs to have better judgment. Because I was okay with them calling the flag in the game. But to suspend a guy, when that is, sure, he could have reacted at the last second and gone lower, but to put that solely on the safety, in my opinion, isn't fair. If you really want to look at it, that's not fair. That should be partly on the wide receiver for lowering himself into that line of impact. Because then, really, if you want to think about it, wide receivers could intentionally do that. Yeah, you're risking getting your bell rung for an extra 15 yards, but you could technically do that. You could lower your head to become a defenseless receiver. You don't even have to make the catch. Just lower your head, get clocked 15 yards. So I really do think that's kind of a bullshit thing where, you've gotta in some way have judgment into that. And I'm very surprised that the NFL would see that it wasn't solely on him and still suspend him. So this is really going to be interesting to see how things going forward are going to be enforced. Because if one of the good guys of the NFL has 3 hits over 3 seasons and gets a suspension, what's that? Some other people should be pretty close to suspensions. One of them being Taylor Mays. So I'm definitely curious to see what's going to happen with that. So sorry I went off on a little tangent there, but I'm definitely curious to see what happens. So there you have it, 1-1 between my pro games. Some other pretty good games of the week. One was the Pats absolutely crushed Luck and the Colts, 59-22, I believe. But big news on the very last point after attempt, after the last touchdown in the fourth quarter, Gronk was out blocking like he always does on point afters, and in the process of blocking broke a bone in his forearm. He's actually already had surgery on it, but he's expected to now miss at least 2 weeks, which I don't know how you're coming back from arm surgery after 2 weeks, but we'll see. Couple crazy games in the early games. Both Houston, Dallas, and Tampa Bay all escaped with overtime victories. Houston somehow got absolutely flambéed. Their defense got cooked by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Blaine Gabbert got injured, so Chad Henne came in and ended up just torching them. A lot of thanks to Justin Blackman, who had 270 yards or something. But it was pretty ridiculous. Ended up, thankfully, the Texans fought all the way back, took it to overtime, and won on a 75-yard Andre Johnson touchdown. Really helped me fantasy-wise. Also, the Buccaneers, with 14 seconds left, Vincent Jackson brought down a great catch. I literally don't know how the defender didn't catch this ball. From Josh Freeman, both helping my fantasy team, thank you, and took the win in overtime. Also, fun fact, Houston is officially the first team to score twice in overtime. They kicked the field goal, but then um, Jacksonville had the opportunity. They matched the field goal, and at which point Houston got the touchdown to Andre Johnson. They're the first team to ever in the new overtime rules to score twice. Kind of cool. And then finally, Dallas. The Browns were ahead the whole game. They were playing well. Also, Dallas was playing horribly. And it's the thing that's been plaguing the Browns all season. They'll look decent for 3 quarters and then just fall apart in the fourth. Same thing happened. Went to overtime. Also, somebody needs to teach the cornerbacks and safeties of the Browns how not to interfere when covering a wide receiver, because I swear it seemed like every other play they were getting called for a pass interference. I think they had 10 on the day. Pretty ridiculous. Other kind of not unexpected, but was surprising by how many points it happened by. RG3 absolutely destroyed the Vickless Eagles. I mean, just crushed them. Really curious to see what happens with Andy Reid. He came out and said that he will not resign, so I'm pretty sure he will play out the rest of the season. But, I mean, even if they win every single game from here on out, they aren't going to make the playoffs, almost 99% sure. And because of that, he's gone, almost 99% sure. Cincinnati absolutely flambéed the Chiefs, 28-6. I think it's official. There had been a lot of argument if it was the Chiefs or the Jaguars for the worst team in the league. I think the Chiefs solidified that after the Jaguars putting up that many points on a previously bragged about Texans defense. So I really think that the Chiefs take the cake on that. And then finally, the Jets had a decent game against St. Louis. Their defense actually stepped it up pretty well. And now all of a sudden everybody's talking about them like they're the talk of the town. Though I'm saying now, Thanksgiving Day, Patriots are going to murder them. I'm just saying. Also, Saints are looking good. They're on the comeback train. Destroyed the Raiders, and if they keep this up, they are going to make the playoffs after starting off 0-4. Pretty crazy. And then finally, on Monday Night Football, it was essentially expected to be a solid game between the 49ers and the Bears, but concussions to both starting quarterbacks took a best versus best game and turned it into a versus game with that of Jason Campbell versus Colin Kaepernick. 49ers ended up winning 32-7. It wasn't even close. It was 27-0 at one point. Just destruction. Kaepernick looked really good. Was very efficient. Was very smart with his plays. He looked really good. And really impressive was Alden Smith. Got 5.5 sacks in one game. Monday Night Football record, absolutely incredible. That's just unlike anything you hear, especially in today's day and age, with how good offensive lines are. I know it was Jason Campbell, and I know he's not the most mobile, but regardless, that's impressive. We then go on to our fantasy, where I went 1-1. We'll start off with the loss. Any given Sunday week, it was truly an atrocious week, one of the worst weeks in fantasy football history. I ended up only scoring 63.74 points, and this is the league where we have 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex position. So you could technically run 3 running backs or 4 wide receivers, and I only scored 64 points. Then what's even funnier is I would have won, actually, if I would have played a couple different people, because the guy I played against only scored 84 points. Really, the only bright spot on my entire team was Tom Brady. Got me 31.24 points, 331 yards, and 3 TDs. And I was going against Matt Ryan, who ended up scoring 1.74 points, thanks to no touchdowns and 5 interceptions. My running backs were not horrible. Ended up between Gore and Turner. Scored 18 points. But the real depth to me, and he had Demaryius Thomas, Lance Moore, Jimmy Graham, and the Broncos defense, who all did really well. He had Justin Blackmon on the bench, had Lawrence Tynes, who was on a bye, and the horrible play of Matty Ryan. And thanks to Danny Woodhead getting a 0, Andrew Hawkins from the Bengals getting a 0, and Dwayne Bowe getting a 0. So mind you, that's all three, or one of my running backs and my running back flex, and two of my receivers getting zeros. Deshaun Jackson, my other wide receiver, getting 1.5 points, and Dustin Keller getting 2.6 points. I ended up with 4.1 points for 5 players. Like, that has to be some kind of record. That's like all-time horrible. And even, how's that even possible? Then to make it even worse, I had Santana Moss, Daniel Gibson, I believe is his name, and Owen Daniels, who everybody said wasn't going to play, ended up playing, scoring 35 total points sitting on my bench. So you add that 35 points to my 63 points, and I beat his 84 points. Also, the horrible Texans defense literally got 2 points against the Jags. Like, that's just pathetic. That's just pathetic. So, and then also, I picked back up Mason Crosby from waivers. Yeah, he missed 2 field goals. Still ended up with 6 points, but missed 2 field goals. And in fact, technically missed the third one, but Detroit called a timeout, so he got an extra crack at it, and then missed it again. And my dumbass picked Crosby back up in both of my leagues after bye. So definitely a big loss on that one, which brings me to 5-6, and then having in the Any Given Sunday league. So that's going to be tough for me to pull that back and get into the playoffs. But that brings us to our positive, which is the BFFL league, where I scored 111 points, second highest total of the week. One guy scored 114, and won against somebody who scored 106.6. Really, it was a pretty even scoring game. I got 21 points from Freeman, which was better than his points from Carson Palmer. Jamal Charles, and Matt Forte were literally the exact same amount of points as his Ray Rice and Ryan Matthews, so that was a wash. And then the beautiful part for me was Vincent Jackson getting 17.4 points, and then my dude, Andre Johnson, getting 33.3 points. That's right, in the other league, I got 4.1 points totaled for my entire receiving whatever core. And in this league, I got 50.7 points for 2 people. Yeah, wish I could have distributed the wealth a little bit there. Though technically I needed all the points in this week in my BFFL league, so I couldn't have been doing anything like that. Again, like I said, I picked up Crosby, who had 2 misses, still got me 6 points. But the thing that killed me, I was actually down thanks to him having Randall Cobb, who had that great fourth quarter touchdown to steal the win back for Green Bay over the Lions. And the Atlanta defense ended up scoring 21 points against the Cardinals. So I was actually down and needed Forte, and Forte ended up having an 8-point day, which made me win by 5 points. I was down by 3, and I won by like 4.5. And thanks to Forte, got me the win. So I didn't even realize that I was having to sweat it that much. I thought I had the game locked up, and thankfully I didn't realize how close it would have been. So with that win, I am officially 8-3, have first place all to myself, and have locked up a playoff spot. It's funny, my power rankings are pretty horrible. I've had the 4th lowest points in the entire league, and I could have lost 3 of my games. So I blame that. You say that's just my great coaching that got me those wins instead of losses. Yeah, not really. And pretty horrible that I have the 4th lowest points, but whatever. I'm in the playoffs. My spot is locked up, and I'm happy. Another kind of cool anecdote, I actually ended up picking all 14 games correct this week in our pick'em pool. So I got all 14 games completely correct. So kind of cool. I hadn't done that in probably 3 seasons. I'd done it before, but it had been like 3 seasons since I got every single one of them right. So kind of cool. So there you have it, the Week 11 fantasy and NFL recap for the 2012 season. Tons of topsy-turvy games, all kinds of crazy stuff happening, and well, thank you guys for checking out my video. I hope your guys' fantasy teams and pro teams did well, hopefully better than my 2-2 week, and hopefully next week we'll have another 4-0 week. That's what I'm aiming for, hopefully at least. So, as always, thank you guys for checking out my videos. I am Matthew Maley. This is MatthewMaley.com. Once again, thank you for checking out the video. Let me know what you guys think of it. I know it ran rather long. I apologize. Lots of crazy stuff happened this week. So, as always, you can check out the rest of my videos on MatthewMaley.com. You can also check me out directly on YouTube. Just search for Matthew Maley Poker. You can like, comment, and subscribe. You can also check me out on Facebook. Again, search for Matthew Maley Poker. I post all my videos on there. Follow your boy on Twitter at Matthew Maley. I'm always tweeting, especially when it comes to football. And finally, follow your boy on Instagram. I am at Matthew Maley Poker. Always posting the pictures of shoes. That's really the main thing right now. And Vegas. So stay tuned, and I'm going to keep growing on Instagram. And till the next video, I will catch you guys later. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and hope you're having a great week. Getting ready for Turkey Day. So hope everybody's doing well, and well, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, y'all.